Guys, welcome back to Southern Extreme TV. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. We are talking about when to be aggressive calling turkeys. So guys, I want to start off this video by talking about some situations that you need to think about when you need to be aggressive calling in a turkey. Very rarely do I try to get extremely aggressive with a turkey. I typically like to keep it soft and calm and just sound natural, like I'm a hen feeding or just like I'm a hen in the area. But every now and again, in certain situations, you really gotta ramp up your calling and get aggressive with those turkeys. So I want to talk first about some of the situations in which I really like to use an aggressive sequence when trying to call a turkey, and then at the tail end of this video I'll jump straight in and give you some examples of what I consider to be aggressive calling and soft calling, and then kind of a middle ground as well. So let's start talking about some different situations. One situation would be a turkey that has to cross over a difficult piece of landscape, and what I mean by that is it can be a creek, it can be a fence, it could be a blowdown tree, it could be a thicket, any type of landscape that is difficult or could potentially be difficult for a turkey to cross. Sometimes those turkeys will come in and they will get locked up and start strutting and going back and forth right on the other side of that piece of structure or right on the other side of that piece of landscape. And sometimes in order to get that turkey to cross, you've got to get a little aggressive with him, and you really got to hammer on him to get him fired up enough to where he wants to cross whatever that nasty stuff is to get to where you're at. So that's situation number one. Situation number two is going to be when that tom turkey has got a bunch of hens with him. Now, this can sometimes either make or break you. And one of the things you want to pay attention to in this situation is if those hens start answering you back when you're getting aggressive, your whole mindset needs to go away from that tom turkey. It needs to go directly towards those hens. Your job now at that point is to piss those hens off to the point to where they want to come fight you. And when that happens, that turkey should follow those hens, and hopefully that turkey will show up with enough time for you to get a shot before those hens spook and get on out of there. So that's a very good time to really get aggressive with those tom turkeys, is if they got hens with them. Get aggressive, try to get those hens fired up and try to get him to break and follow those hens, or either say the heck with the hens that he is with, that hen over there is fired up, I'm going to go see what she's got going on, and they could potentially leave the hens that they're with and come see you. So that's situation number two as to when to be aggressive with a tom turkey. Situation number three is going to be when you think that that bird is A, no longer interested, or B, he is going the opposite direction of you. Prime example happens to me all the time because I am so bad at killing a bird off of the roost. When that bird pitches down off of his roost, 9 times out of 10, he is going to a set strut zone where he's going to strut back and forth for a little while until his hens come down or until he wants to go to another area. The object is to be close enough to that landing or that strut zone to where you can kill him off the roost. But more times than not, for me anyways, I find myself on the, I'm going to call it the back side of that strut zone, where that turkey does not want to come to me. He wants to go the opposite direction. No matter how much I call, no matter what I do, he wants to go the other direction, and I feel like I'm behind him. In that instance, if I feel like I am losing interest in that turkey, or that turkey wants to go another direction, I'm going to get aggressive with him. I'm going to start cutting. I'm going to start yelping loud. I'm going to start getting excited, moving my head back and forth, making that sound move to and from, and try to get that bird fired up enough to where he can say, well, I don't necessarily want to go that direction because this hen is pretty daggone fired up. I need to go see what she's got going on. So that's another situation when you really want to be aggressive calling that bird. But there's one thing that all of those situations have in common that I want you guys to kind of capitalize on. And that is, it is almost a last resort. So key in on that, a last resort. Now, I'm not talking about wind, high winds or high rain, anything like that, where you got to be loud in order for those turkeys to hear them. I'm talking about just being aggressive and being really, really, I don't know of another word besides aggressive, but really direct towards that turkey. They're all last resorts. And I want to emphasize that because 9 times out of 10, I do not kill a turkey if I have to get aggressive with him. 9 times out of 10, I kill that turkey by being relaxed, calling soft, calling calm, and I actually like to call often. I like to call soft and I like to call often, just so that turkey consistently knows where I'm at and he knows where he needs to come into and where I'm supposed to be at. So with that being said, there are times where you have to get aggressive with them because that's the only thing you can do. That's the only thing left in your playbook other than take off running through the field and hope to God that you can run that turkey down without him seeing you. So keep that in mind when I'm talking about calling aggressively in this video. Now, let's get into what I consider to be aggressive calls and what I consider to be non-aggressive calls. So let's start on the lighter side of things and let's do what I would say my most typical call and sequence would be if I'm in the turkey woods and let's say I got a turkey gobbling 200, 300 yards away and I'm going to try to get him to come in. It's not going to be aggressive. It's not going to be a, hey, come here, hurry, or a, hey, where are you at? It's just a very simple, here I am, come and find me. Simple, not crazy, little soft putts there, yelp a little bit, let him know where you're at, and you can mix in some purrs and stuff with that like this. Simple. Now I want to talk about what I consider to be a middle ground. Some people either say you're either calling aggressive or you're calling soft. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there's a good happy medium between these two types of calling sequences. So that right there is what I would consider to be a kind of soft, calm, easy calling sequence whenever you're trying to call in a turkey. So let's go to that middle ground that I'm talking about. So again, it's not a whole bunch of cutting. The yelps are a little bit louder. They're a little more frequent. And I try to move my hand or my head in different directions, not drastically back and forth, but call a little bit in this direction, call a little bit in that direction. That gives that turkey, when he's hearing it, it gives him that sense that that hen is kind of, hey, all right, where's everybody at? Where are you at? I'm covering ground. I'm trying to figure out where you're at. And a lot of times that's when you get that gobbler to strike up and gobble and answer you back, especially if he's been quiet for a little while. So started out with the soft calling. That right there is what I personally believe would be kind of the middle ground of a calling sequence. Now let's talk about an aggressive, hurry up, get here. The tom turkey is leaving. You need him to cross over some thick stuff, whatever the case may be. Here's what I consider to be an aggressive call. So what I want you to notice is, and I try to turn away from the camera so that maybe the audio would be a little bit better, because cameras do a bad job of making loud things quiet and quiet things loud. So what I wanted you to key in there is the sporadicness, if that's even a word, of the calls. So what you want to think about is a hen that is super excited. If you've never seen that before, that hen's head is going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, yelping, yelping, back and forth, back and forth. And they'll stop and they'll listen. Don't hear a gobble. Start cutting, yelping again, back and forth, back and forth. And the whole time what this hen is doing is she's directing her yelps in different directions, trying to make that sound carry all around. And that's when she's excited. When she's fired up and she's hammering, that's what she's doing. And that is what an aggressive calling sequence, in my opinion, is. Now, I don't get that aggressive all the time, only in those situations like I talk about. Now, when the wind is blowing, that's a different type of aggressive calling. That is calling loud so that the turkey can actually see you. It's not necessarily aggressive, it's just calling loud enough for that bird to be able to hear you. When I'm talking about aggressive, I'm talking about those real fast cuts, those real distinct, long, sharp yelps, back to back, followed by cuts going in different directions. That is aggressive. So hopefully that makes a little more sense after explaining all this. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Thanks for watching my video. That's all I got today. If you've got questions about turkey season or any tips or tactics that I can possibly share, drop a comment down below. I'll try to answer any questions I can, or I'll actually try to do a full video for you guys if at all possible. So thanks so much for spending time out of your busy day here on my channel. If you're new to Southern Extreme TV, hit that subscribe button in the top left corner. It means the absolute world to me, trying to grow this thing to 100,000 subscribers. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys next time. Let's go scout and see if we can find some turkeys.